Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Jacob Larson, and this is Read, Write, and Cite, a channel where I teach you how to read, write, and cite for your college classes. In this video, I'm going to be walking you through sort of an activity, a lesson that I created to help you practice creating works cited entries for electronic sources. With how everything has been digitized, everything is on the internet, the majority of your sources as you write papers are absolutely probably going to be electronic. So I'm going to talk about one of those today. So first thing we'll do is I'll walk through some of the basics for what information you need to include in a works cited entry, and then I'll walk you through an activity to kind of help you practice that. Now, if you're one of my students, there'll be a place for you to actually submit that for me to double check your work. If you're not, this is something you can do on your own just to try and get better. So I hope that everything makes sense. Let's get started. First off, what is a works cited entry? Now, I have other videos that go into depth about this as well. This one is kind of directed at creating this activity specifically. But let's go through the basics. There are two parts to every citation. The first part is inside the paper. You are writing an in-text citation. I talk about that in other videos, and I recently did an activity or a video like this where I walk through an activity that you can practice as well. But the second part goes at the end of the paper, and this is where you include all the information that someone would need if they actually want to go find the information that you cited in the source itself, assuming that it's public and they can actually access it. But there are basically three kinds of information that you're going to have in a works cited entry. You're going to need an author's name, you're going to need titles, and you're going to need the rest of the publication information. So let's talk about what that looks like. Okay. So let's say the first thing you need to do when you have a source is to identify the author or the author's names. And it's going to look something like this in your source. It's going to start with the last name, going to have a comma, and then the rest of their name. So if they have a middle name, that's going to come after the first name. It would show up right here. So that's the first thing that happens. Question is, what if you have more than one author's name? Well, then you'd have a comma, and then you'd type the rest of the names like that. Yeah. Or you put like and so, something like that. Anyway, once you've done that, you need to include the titles. Now, if you're citing an entire work, like an entire website, you only need one title. But if you're citing something that is part of a larger work, like one page on a website, you're going to include both titles. So my made-up example here, I've created an article called English is Cool. Well, an article that appears on another site, it's going to appear in parentheses, and you got to capitalize it correctly. And you'll notice this period here. That's also important. Okay. Then you have the title of the site itself. This isn't the web address. That's not what we're putting here. We're putting the actual title. So I do have a site called Read, Write, and Cite. You can go to it's readwritecite.com. But and that's where stuff like my videos show up and blog posts and things like that. But the way you would cite it is it would look like this, and it's in italics. Italics are when it like goes to it's slanted like this. Okay. So if I was, again, you start with the author's name, the last name, comma, first name. Then you put the title of the article followed by the title of the site itself. Okay, this part is in quotation marks. This part is italics. That's how we can tell the difference between something that is part of a larger work and the larger work itself. So what do you do next? Well, you need to include the rest of the publication information. This can vary a lot depending on the kind of source that you are using. Because there's so many different kinds of sources, there's not just one answer. But you're looking for basically the publication information. This is like dates, who published it, where can you find it, In the case of a web source, you're going to use like the date that it was published, which is really relevant because if the information included in the article has changed or been updated, it's good to know when something was published. So in this case, I made it up April 5th of this year. And remember, in MLA, we do dates backwards than how we do it in America. So we start with the number, followed by an abbreviation of the month, and then the year. Then you have the actual link that someone could just click on and go there. And then you put the date that it was accessed. Now, this is important because anything that changes or happens after this, you're not really accountable for. You're just saying, all right, on this date, this is what the information said. Because we're talking about live documents, like a website that can be updated at any time, the link information can change, the actual information on the page can change, it can be updated. We're basically saying, all right, to the best of my knowledge, this is the date that this was published, and then this is the date I got to it, and this is, on my honor, this is what it looked like at the time. Okay? Anyway, this is what a completed works cited entry might look like if you're looking up an article on a website. Now, if you actually click on this would go to a blog, but it wouldn't go to an article called English is Cool, because I just made this up for an example. All right. Anyway, so let's see what this might look like in an activity. So what I've done is I found 3 articles that are currently on the internet. And if you just go to the links, you're going to pull up a website. The activity is pretty simple. What I want you to do is go to it and then put all the relevant information in here to create a works cited entry. So you're going to need the author or author's names. You're going to need titles of both the article and the website, and then the publication information, like when it was published, what its link is, and when you accessed it. And then you put that all right here. So this is just good practice. This is a tech website. This is a kind of a news political website, and then this is sports. It's ESPN. All right, so I will be posting a link to this document in case you want to download it. I'll put a link to an actual article that I will write on my website. It should be in the description below if you actually want to go through this. Otherwise, for my students, this should be on Google Classroom waiting for you, and I'll be excitedly waiting for your responses. So I hope that this is helpful, kind of walking through the different parts of an electronic source and then giving you an opportunity to practice it. But that's it. That's it for this video. I'm Dr. Jacob Larson. This has been Read, Write, and Cite. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you in the next video.